Sitaram, once more welcome to Swadharma, coming to you via Sankhya TV, and it is worthwhile to mention at this point in time the program will be aired in the not too distant future on the Flow Network channel 117, so viewers can look forward to that. Swadharma, the program which among other goals seeks to get the individual at the level where, apart from being an exemplar to his home environment, his or her home environment, makes a positive contribution to society. So today's program, Program 12, is a continuation of our last program, which we dealt with daily deities to worship. This is carrying worship to the highest level, where we worship the deities according to the lunar phases of the moon, or as we say, the tithis. These, the new addition, the recent addition to the daily calendar, one will be able to pull up this document, Daily Deities to Worship, and so we can mesh the two, the information and the relevant deity. The quick reminder that in Tithi worship, in the worship of these deities, it is recommended that we up the offering. So we, by the addition of a mantra, convert the offering of the flower to a mala offering, and two other quick maneuvers, offering of incense, dhoop, and offering of arati. Short mantras, Om Bhurbhuvaswa, insert the Devata's name, Ganesh Devaya Namaha, Dhupam Samarpyami. If it's Devi, Iti Saraswati Devyai Namaha, Dhupam Agrapyami. And for the arati, Om Bhurbhuvaswa, Hanuman Devaya Namaha, Deepam Darshyami. If it's Devi, Iti Lakshmi Devyai Namaha, Deepam Darshyami. As we say, these maneuvers can be split throughout the day. On mornings, we should be regular in our puja room. If we haven't got the time for whatever reason, we can make these two offerings to the special deity of worship on the relevant day in the evening time. So we have reached Tithi number 9, lunar phase number 9. And this indicated in the calendar, in the document we mentioned, it's the time is here, Friday to Saturday, the worship of Devis. Now we had dealt with Devis worship on the third phase of the moon in the previous program. And here again, Devis appear dominating the ninth phase of the moon. There is a difference. The better day, lunar day between the two for Devi's worship is the third Tithi. The ninth Tithi, it falls under the category known as Rikta. It carries its hurdles with them. Sometimes with the best of intentions, we undertake little projects, and what we find is that they don't come to fruition as they ought to. It is because of the influence of the ninth phase of the moon. It has that negative impact. But going to the Devis, for multiple reasons, helps us to circumvent these hurdles, to ward off the challenges. And in the case of Saraswati Mata, among her portfolios, she is also known as Gayatri Mata. Gayatri Mata, that form of Saraswati Mata prevails over the Vedas, the four Vedas, the original books of knowledge. And when we refer to the Vedas, it is not knowledge for Hindus per se. Knowledge doesn't have an owner, as it were. It's for any ethnicity, because it's knowledge for everyone's benefit. And Saraswati Mata sits as the deity of the Vedas, Gayatri Mata. In a very puja, a puja done on a Vedi, this form of Saraswati Mata is worshipped. The mantra goes Om Purve Rigvedaya Namaha. To the east sits the Rigved, prevailed over by Saraswati Mata. On the southern part of the Vedika, it's Yajurved, again prevailed by that form of Saraswati Mata. To the west, Samved. To the north, Atharvaved. So the four Vedas occupy specific positions on a Vedika, whereby when we perform puja, we also pay cognizance to the form of knowledge embellished in these four Vedas and dominated over by Gayatri Mata, that form of Saraswati Mata. And so, by extension, being Akura with the knowledge, then we get the wherewithal to sometimes ward off the negatives, circumvent a problem, hurdle a problem, as the case may be. The very ninth phase of the moon is also controlled by Lakshmi Mata, and this is in her capacity as Sampati Mata. This is one of her forte in this phase of the moon. And Sampati, it's that form of Lakshmi Mata that whose blessings gives us progress in life, moving from one station in life to a higher station, as we have mentioned before in previous programs, by fair means. Let it be also acknowledged that this form of Lakshmi Mata sits on the northeastern section of a puja room, of a temple, of a lot of land, of a country. She sits in that. So it's worth the while when performing the flower or the agarbatti or the arati, we face that direction as we offer to Sampati Mata. And last but by no means least, Durga Mata's input in the ninth phase of the moon. Among her portfolios, she is also known as Rohini Mata, that form which in times of ailment, physical ailment, comes to our rescue as we make our due supplication to her. So now we move to the 10th phase of the moon, which is dominated over by Yamraj. The first thing that comes to mind, Yamraj is the god of death in one capacity, but he's also the god of dharma, because one ought to remember that he is a projection of Surjanarayan Swami. So that positive answer or projection of Surjanarayan Swami as the god of dharma is known as the Yamraj. Jyotisis favor this 10th phase of the moon because, you know, for business and other reasons, it's a favorable phase of the moon. The short mantra will be for converting the flower offering to a mala, Om Shri Yam Devaya Namaha Pushpam Samarpyami. So the template is there just to insert the deity's name. But in Jyotis, one has to pay attention to little exceptions here and there. Remember, Jyotis basically is mathematics. And there's always a margin of error which is catered for by Jyotisis. Nothing is left hanging. So, a word on the 10th phase of the moon. Not every 10th phase of the moon will be propitious for business and other undertakings. Diksha, christening, initiation of a disciple. That's a favorite phase of the moon, the 10th phase of the moon. But if this 10th phase falls on a Saturday, it is known as a Mrityu Pradyag. It doesn't augur well for you know, undertakings of this nature. So one has got to sidestep. How do we know? Yes, on the document with deities to worship daily on svvtt.com, one will be able to pick up the phase of the moon. So if it's the 10th phase of the moon, we know it's a propitious phase generally, but if it's a Saturday, one has got to sidestep and wait for another more appropriate phase of the moon. Not only, as we might add, that the 10th phase, but if also the 5th phase of the moon or the 15th phase of the moon falls on a Saturday, those are also Mrityupad yogas. We come to the 11th phase of the moon, and this is where the worship of the Vishwadevas come into play. They are a category of gods, very important in Sanatana Dharma, and the bullet points will show why. A category of 10 gods. And the timing for this month, it's here. They occur twice in each month. So this is the occurrence here on the 22nd of July. The next time we worship Vishwadevas obviously will be in the month of August. And they stand in pairs. Now, in our daily prayer structure, which is aired exclusively on Sankhya TV, every day at dawn, so at 6 a.m., we would see the name of Daksh is mentioned in one of the prayers, Om Shri Daksh Prajapati Namaha. And the reason that is inserted there, because Daksh carries two pivotal roles in Sanatana Dharma, in the structure of worship. The first of which is he belongs to one of the category of the 33 major manifestations of God. But secondly, he also belongs to the category of God known as the Vishwadevas. And he is paired with Kratu. But, structure of prayer, like a classroom, like a school, is a work in progress. We at some point in time will reach to get into more details of the Vishwadevas. But at least by following the daily structure, we have acknowledged a member of the Vishwadevas on the 11th phase of the moon, and their importance, among others, is in Shraddha, in ancestral honor. In Pitra worship, the Vishwadevas play an important part to carry our offerings and to confer their blessings on the ancestors whom we worship and pay obeisance to. Relevant short mantra, Om Shri Vishwadevtabhyo Namaha Pushpam Samarpyami. There is a tendency sometimes to separate, like one will say Om Shri Vishwadevtabhyo Namaha, but it's hyphenated here. It's a declension. It ought to stick close to what comes before it. So, in pronunciation, we put it in the hyphen, so there's not too much Devtabhyo as opposed to Devtabhyo Namaha. It's just a bit of grammar that lends a bit of fluency to the pronunciation. So now we reach the 12th phase of the moon, and the 12th phase of the moon is dedicated to the worship of Bhagwan Vishnu. As we have repeatedly said, for clarification, that this Bhagwan Vishnu referred to is the sustainer, as opposed to the Mahavishnu, the supreme. So from the Mahavishnu comes Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the sustainer, and Bhagwan Shiva, the dissolver. It is this sustaining aspect of Bhagwan, Vishnu Bhagwan, not Mahavishnu, that we refer to. An easy way to recognize from his nabhi, from his navel, the lotus stem on which Brahma, the creator, sits. That's an easy way to recognize the Vishnu from the Mahavishnu. As we see that Lakshmi Mata is there, the spouse of Bhagwan Vishnu, whose worship we have mentioned in the 3rd and the 9th phase of the moon. When Navratri time comes, the Devis get the special mantra Om Aim Hrim Klim Chamundaya Vichayai Namaha. Well, if one is doing Havan, Swaha. And the importance of that is that the syllable, like in the case of Lakshmi Mata, the syllable Aim denotes, carries a lot of potency as far as the name of Lakshmi Mata is concerned. Brahmaji has been sorted out in the 2nd phase, coming to Bhagwan Vishnu. His favorite color, of course, is yellow, and his portfolio, we know, is the sustainer's blessings. Mantra, Om Shri Vishnu Devaya or Bhagwanaya Namaha Pushpam Samarpyami. But equally on the 12th phase of the moon, Bhagwan Vishnu, in one round of creation, manifested as Shalagram. It is beyond the time frame to explain the Shalagram. But most viewers who are conversant with the tenets of Sanatana Dharma will know of Shalagram Devta, and that is also, he is also adored, worshipped on the 12th phase of the moon, that form, that manifestation of Bhagwan Vishnu. Quickly down the corridors of Itihas and history, this is when Jalandhar was destroyed, and Vrinda, the spouse of Jalandhar, pronounced Shrap on Vishnu Bhagwan for his involvement, although he did it for a good purpose, for the sake of the gods. That's the Shalagram we speak about. And for the Shalagram, offer tulsi leaf on the top of the Shalagram, Om Shri Shalagram Devaya Namaha Patram. It's a leaf, Samarpyami. So we augment our worship in this manner on the 12th phase of the moon. So we come to the 13th phase of the moon, where Kam Devta, the god of love, prevails. Now, the god of love, whose obvious input in marriage fortifies it, we acknowledge that. But one must also take into, the panoramic picture. If one marriage actually, love actually is the axle upon which procreation goes on, and more so in a marriage institution. So even if one is in or out of a love relationship, one should make whatever steps that might be necessary to stabilize any marriage institution, any relationship that has the bond of love. If we see that, things are going apart and it's two worthwhile partners, one should make, as though if we have a vested interest, to make sure the little fissures and cracks and miscommunications are sorted out as much as we can do, yet respecting the privacy of the two people involved, and so fortify that relationship where the bond of love is the binding factor. One was quite aware of Lord Shiva's interaction with Kamdev and gave him that unique, important place among the deities. So sometimes not heard of, not given much prevalence in Sanatana Dharma, but yes, he controls the 13th phase of the moon, endorsed by Bhagwan Shiva for reasons we have briefly touched upon. Short mantra, Om Shri Kamdevaya Namaha, Pushpam Samarpyami. So now we come to the 14th phase of the moon. Like the 8th phase of the moon, the 14th phase of the moon is prevailed over by Bhagwan Shiva. And we have mentioned in previous programs that the 14th phase of the moon, particularly leading to new moon on the Krishna Paksh, is a phase where one takes steps by wooing Bhagwan Shiva to forestall any calamities or potential calamities that may occur on a new moon the following day. And of the forms of Bhagwan Shiva, and his projections, his Ans, we know of the 11 Rudras, we know of 8 of his projections also, but these 5 important manifestations are worthy of taking note. We exemplify, we further develop the point. Of these 5 manifestations, Aghor, among the input of Aghordev, is that this form or this projection of Bhagwan Shiva brightens the intellect. And when one bestows the Tripundra, the 3 horizontal Chandan marks on Bhagwan Shiva, form or lingam, it's ought to remind us that that we're supposed to, by Bhagwan Shiva's grace, be aware and work assiduously to overcome the 3 impurities which are embedded in every human being. And how that happens is through the blessings of worshipping Aghordev, that projection of Bhagwan Shiva. What 3 impurities? First of all, Ahamkar, the ego, where I gets into the conversation at some point in time. We express, we profess to be humble, but not long after, I did this, I know that, I have done so and so, the I, that Ahamkar, it impurifies the entire structure. Second impurity, Karmapal. Bhagavad Gita goes at length in 18 chapters to highlight that actions should be performed without looking for rewards. There's a nice adage, Jo kiya so kaam hai, jo diya so daan hai, or jo bhaja so ram hai, essentially encapsulating what was just said. So that impurity of, if we perform an action, if we help one, if we lift one out of the pit of depression and poverty, etc., and we speak about it, or we did it looking for our favor in turn, that impurifies the body. And third of all, the third impurity, Maya, illusion, mistaking the unreal for the real, mistaking that which is not true for truth. And these 3 impurities, as we paste the Chandan, 3 horizontal marks on the forehead of Bhagwan Shiva or on the lingam, we ought to remind ourselves, Bhagwan, by your grace and blessings, I am aware of the challenges, of the potential dangers of these 3 impurities. Help me, fortify me, so that I may not be subjected to these impurities. And all this can happen. These things happen. This is not the only point of worship or central focal point in the 14th phase of the moon to Bhagwan Shiva. We are just but highlighting one. Remember, Bhagwan Shiva has all his other projections, and each one, we through the medium of satsang, we develop and brings a sense of comfort and protection that we look forward to. Short mantra, Om Shri Shivaya Namaha, Pushpam Samarpayami. So we come to the final phase of the moon, the 15th phase. Now, if we are in Krishna Paksh, in the dark half, the 15th phase will be new moon. If we are in the bright half leading to full moon, that will be the next slide, which is full moon. So we go to new moon. New moon has its challenges, its potential dangers, but equally, the Shastras have declared new moon is the most appropriate day for ancestral worship. So if sometimes in dream we remember one who has passed on, who is close to us, and we want to be aggressive about it and do something positive, just by the time, one can go into the calendar, wait on the new moon, and before dawn, preferably before dawn on that day, just simply offer 3 handfuls of Tilanjali in the prescribed manner which we have documented in Satsang. That maneuver probably takes less than 3 minutes, but it appeases and does so much for the ancestors. And that is the reason we say that new moon has its positives. The deity presiding over new moon, Aryamadeva, one of the projections, one of the adityas of Surjanarayan Swami, his projection. And Aryamadeva, one of his main portfolios is he is the liaison officer between living and the Pitras who have passed on. Our offerings are carried, if done reverently and with devotion, are carried by Aryamadeva and reaches the ancestors. Whether that offering is black till, whether it's pinda, those offerings do reach the this destination. Short mantra, Om Shri Aryamadevaya Namaha, Pushpam Samarpayami. As we say on the evening time, if we don't have the time in the morning, short mantra for Agarbati, short mantra for Arati, all directed in the Surjanarayan Murti or picture that we have in our puja room. Now, Aryamadevta, so important he is that when Shraddha is being performed, where we make the Pinda offerings, the last Pinda is given to Aryama, is designated to Aryama. So he has that key role as far as ancestral worship is concerned. What about the new moons when we may not perform Tilanjali? The fact remains that Aryama is the salient deity of the 15th phase of the moon. And if we rely on Aryamadeva to breach that gap between us and our ancestors, then definitely every new moon we should be making this maneuver so that when we call upon him at whatever point in time, whether it's in the yearly Shraddha, Pitru Paksha and so forth, we have established a relationship with Aryamadeva. So now we come finally to the 15th phase of the moon on the Shukla Paksh, leading to full moon. And as if say, accessing the calendar, one gets the date for this month. And the deity of worship is Satyanarayan Swami, a projection of the very sustainer Bhagwan Vishnu. His worship points to a better standard of living. And sometimes we tend to use the yardstick of material wherewithal to benchmark the standard of living. That it does have a definite positive input, definitely, but is not the only parameter by which we talk about a better standard of living. One may live in not too fancy a house, but there's unity in that house. That's a home, and that is where a better standard of living exists, rather than a mansion where there's division and a lot of confrontation. So this is what we mean by that. But also his worship does help one materially. Short mantra, Om Shri Satyanarayan Swamaye Namaha, Pushpam Samarpayami. Noteworthy, most people are familiar with this picture of Satyanarayan Swami and his puja being done. Note where the wife sits. Those are the performers of the puja. The husband, the wife is on the right, the husband on the left. It's a point we have dealt with in satsang. It's a point we have raised here because it is of paramount importance where wife sits in performing puja, etc. Tirte Vrate Makhe Dane Patni Tishtati Dakshanaha. I quote the Shastras Dharma Sindhu, and it says here that in such noble undertakings, puja, yajna and so forth, a wife's position, Patni Tishtati Dakshanaha, Tishtati stands, Dakshanaha, or positions itself on the right hand side. And as I say, we will develop further, but we have dealt with it in satsang. So we have carried ourselves to the stage at where the air is rare, so to speak, of Tithi worship, of worshipping particular special worship to deities that prevail on the Tithis, in addition to all other worship we do, but we fine-tune our worship on these days. Once again, on behalf of Sankhya TV, we thank you for joining us. We will meet and greet next Thursday. And just a gentle reminder, in the not too distant future, the program will be carried on the Flow Network, channel 117. All is coming to you exclusively on the reliable Sankhya TV. Sitaram.